everyone. My name is Nicola Gunn and I am the Director of Development and External Affairs at Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home. And I am joined today by my colleague David Mitchell, who's our cryptocurrency and digital fundraising manager. David is very new to the home and only joined us yesterday, so it's been kind of dropped in at the deep end a little bit by co-presenting with me today on engaging with crypto communities via Twitter. But I must say, he is the digital expert and I am much more of the digital enthusiast. So hopefully today we'll be able to impart some insight into our cryptocurrency philanthropy journey and how you might want to be able to get involved. So to kick off, David is going to, as the expert, talk a little bit more about just what crypto is and go through some of the benefits that charities can have from introducing crypto into their income streams. So David, I'm going to pass over to you.
Thanks, Nicola. Hello, everyone. Great to have the chance to talk to you today about our work around cryptocurrency. First of all, I think I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about what cryptocurrency is and also what NFTs are, because those are the two things that we tend to hear about most and the things that tend to be discussed. Now, when you talk about cryptocurrency, it's actually interesting to consider how much it's useful to know what it is and how much it's useful to know what it does, because they're two very different things. A bit like our relationship with fiat, which is centrally issued money or money as we conventionally know it. We have got a very intuitive understanding of what it does and how we can spend it and its use and how we work with it day in, day out. But we might not have a deep understanding into the way it's created, the way it's centrally managed, the way banks issue it. So within even typical fiat money within our own finances, we've got the understanding that we need to work with it, and we've got the understanding that we actually need to understand it at a deep, complex level. And with cryptocurrency, we have a choice. We can have the choice to understand it at the level that lets us use it and interact with it, and as fundraisers, solicit donations with it. And you also got the option, if you're interested, to go deep and learn and understand about cryptography and how it works. But it's not essential, and it's a question that everyone has to understand. But the broad strokes of a cryptocurrency are, it's a digital currency. But it's not a digital equivalent of pounds or euros or dollars. It's its own separate unit that stores value. And the thing that marks it out from any other type of currency is it's decentralized. And what we mean by that is that most currencies we're used to using have a central method of being issued and being controlled. And that's usually through a central bank, either for the country, and then there's an attached banking system that we know as the banks. That's what we know as things like the Royal Bank of Scotland and all our banking institutions that we use. Now, blockchain and cryptocurrency arose when people started to consider what's an alternative world where we don't have these things centrally managed. Now, post the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of people began to question the idea of centralized money and how it was managed and whether it was fair. And a few idealists and experts developed this idea of cryptocurrency. They imagined a world where there would be no one centralized bank issuing the money. Instead, we would all have the ability to trade money without a third party involved. So at the moment, if I want to send Nicola over some money, it feels like I can send it straight to Nicola. But there's always that intermediary step. There's always a bank who needs to know who I am, needs to know who Nicola is, wants to. There always has to be that relationship. So what cryptocurrency is a way of allowing people to transfer money, but we're not going to use a centralized banking system. What we're going to use is a computer network that uses some very in-depth cryptography in order to verify that I am who I say I am, Nicola is who she says she is, and money can flow between the two. And that complex cryptography is what we call blockchain technology. Blockchain technology essentially means we, rather than having all the information about who I am and who Nicola is and what money we've sent each other controlled in the servers of a bank, that information is spread across a network of computers that we can all see. And I can look at where money's going, Nicola can see where money's going, everyone in the audience can see where money's going. And what it does is allows a great deal of transparency and allows a great deal of different ways of considering money and different ways of operating. And as we go to talk about the culture of cryptocurrency, some of those things have come up. The next thing I probably want to talk about is just NFTs, because that's the big buzzword that you'll always hear. An NFT is built in blockchain technology, what it's essentially used for is to identify one digital asset in a way that differentiates it from any other digital asset. So a really good example of this would be that we all came to the conference today and we all would have checked in with a QR code on our phones. We've all got effectively a ticket. But what happens in the day where two people come with the same ticket? What happens when I screenshot my ticket and I send it to my friend and we both turn up? That's an example of something that's fungible. What we're looking at for non-fungible tokens is things that are unique and we can verify belongs to one person and one person only. Now, the benefits of this will one day be that so many things in our life will probably run in NFTs. Your plane ticket could potentially be an NFT. Your concert ticket to go and see a band could be an NFT. At the moment, primarily it's being used as artwork. And the reason that that is it's almost the fundamental way people create on the internet is through image. An image was the first thing that people thought it would be interesting to allow you to own. And that's where the whole culture of NFT art has come from. But the important thing is that what people value about NFTs is true ownership. And as we go on to actually look at some examples of NFTs, we'll understand why that is quite different from any other form of digital ownership. So this is the type of image that you might normally see associated with an NFT. This is one particular NFT sold for just shy of $12 million. And is part of a collection of, it's a subsection of one large group of NFTs. What's important to note here is that the people who are buying NFTs here, this is the cutting edge of NFT technology. This isn't what you might be seeing when you dip your toe into this water. This isn't what your charity might be particularly geared towards. You might have a more practical use for NFTs, something that, you know, it'd be great if it does sell for £12 million, but chances are that that's not going to be something that we're all going to be able to create through our own organisations. But what's interesting here with the CryptoPunks example is that there is a whole other culture of people who are considering art in a different way. And they're considering that they would rather spend £12 million on this digital piece of art that they can verify rather than an exclusive or expensive piece of art like a Jackson Pollock or anything else that we might consider traditional art. So what's important to understand about NFTs and cryptocurrencies in general is that there's a different culture evolving. People have different attitudes to what they value. They want to create something that's an alternative from the world as we know it. An alternative from the idea of centralized banking, an alternative from the idea of centralized ways of thinking about where value is. And that's very important for us as fundraisers, because also built into that is a very idealized view of what philanthropy can be. So if we go in and start to look at a bit more the aspects that are relevant to us, we can start to understand why this is an area we really want to be. Certainly, you might not need to be focused on, but certainly you want to potentially have an eye on within your digital strategy, because it's becoming more and more prevalent, and as we'll see, it's becoming more and more common, and that there is certainly a lot of money in this sector that potentially we can capitalise on. So here are just a few statistics around cryptocurrency philanthropy. One of the tools that we use at the Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home is the Giving Block, which allows us to take donations in cryptocurrency. In 2020, they took almost $70 million, and they're just one of many, many, many organisations that are helping people solicit donations through cryptocurrency. And what's the market thing here is just the increase that they've seen. You know, almost 1,600% increase just in a single year. And again, as we go down there, you can see the average donation size over $10,000 in 2021. And again, that's just a signal that when you start to look at these communities, you understand that there is a great deal of wealth within them. There's a great deal of money changing hands, and as I say, if you're an early adopter into this space, potentially you have the ability to capitalise on that, or that's the hope, that you can actually make partnerships with these organisations and try to make your organisation a potential way of them to allow their philanthropic ways of idealised view of the world to be realised effectively. And then as we see down there, we've got NFTs, particularly specifically, just over $12 million raised. And it's only increasing. Volume increased every single quarter, and that's purely through the Giving Block alone, who are just one, as I say, of many different organisations who are allowing charities and non-profits to make themselves available to crypto communities, people with cryptocurrencies, in order to donate. So, aside from the obviously large amounts of money that are available in this sector, one of the great things that cryptocurrency allows a lot of organisations to do is diversify their demographics. So the Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home, and a bit like previous organisations I've worked for, their demographic of most of their donations skews towards women, usually 45 plus. But the cryptocurrency demographic is significantly different. That tends to skew male, a little bit younger, and very tech savvy. It can be considered niche by some, but 1.5 million people in the UK own cryptocurrency, and as I say, that does skew towards men. But in the UK, 17% of women have also reported that they own a cryptocurrency. Now, for these people, they often want to, they tend to be quite passionate about the technology, and they want to embrace it, and they want to see it used, and they want to see it grow in the world. So if they have an affinity with your cause, potentially they'll want to use cryptocurrency as a way of demonstrating the use of the currencies that they work with, and effectively use you as a conduit to demonstrate how useful the currency can be. And it's really a case of just meeting people where they are. If that's the world they have embedded themselves in, if they feel that they want to move away from fiat currency or traditional money, as we might say, if that's where their headspace is, then it makes sense to offer them the ability to use their cryptocurrency and effectively allow them to donate. And what it's really doing is just opening up your income streams. Digital has already opened up many different channels for people to be able to donate through, and cryptocurrency is just the latest one of those, and potentially a lucrative one if done correctly. Like any new technology you adopt, there's some things you really need to consider. When cryptocurrency first arrived, there was always concerns about security and fraud. Potentially that is one of the things where the reputation is greater than the actuality. More fraud occurs usually with fiat currency than with cryptocurrency. The idea of anonymity is potentially a concern, but most charitable organisations will already have processes in place for dealing with anonymous donations, and often those same policies and procedures can be applied to your crypto the same way it can be applied to your traditional fiat donations. Lots of questions potentially about environment and sustainability. Now, this is an issue that I think this as a sector we probably should be aware of. And I think the most important thing to note here is we've got the opportunity to effectively vote with our feet. Within the cryptocurrency sector, there's many different ways that cryptocurrency can be generated, and there's many different types of cryptocurrency that are generated in different ways. Some of those are very, very heavily geared towards use of electricity and use of power and use of energy. But with that being said, there are certainly lots of different cryptocurrencies out there who use means of generating the currency that is a lot more environmentally friendly, and often the organisations really promote that. And as a sector, it's often up to us to vote with our feet and look for options of using cryptocurrencies that use less energy and are a bit more energy efficient. But it's also a trade-off within your organisation. Certainly at Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home, I know there's been a large push to review all aspects of our sustainability. And within every aspect of our fundraising, there's always going to be a carbon overhead. And it's just about trying to reduce it as much as you can and trying to make choices that show you are taking steps to reduce this, but ultimately still trying to fundraise effectively. Volatility there, that's crucially important in cryptocurrency. The price of a cryptocurrency or its value can change rapidly, minute by minute, hour by hour. So often what people will do is save cryptocurrencies, hold on to cryptocurrencies in the hope that they rise. But usually at Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home, what we are doing is simply taking the donation in cryptocurrency and converting it to fiat, because ultimately that's what the bills come in as. That's how we pay the bills. So fiat's what we need. So that conversion happens through the giving block, and that's the tool we use to process our crypto transactions, and it's proved effective so far. And finally, reputational considerations. Cryptocurrencies and NFT projects range from extremely established, well thought of, extremely high profile, well-run organizations, but they can also be susceptible to projects that pop up, don't last very long. People aren't always very happy about the overall value that's provided. And what that just gives us is a spectrum, and it's really just on each organisation to understand what they can commit to and how far they want to dip their toe into this crypto world and balance that. And for the most part, what this comes down to is just having done that little bit of research into some of these things, into environment and security and fraud, and understanding what processes you have in place and how you can mitigate risk. And effectively that can help you guard against any reputational concerns.
Brilliant, thank you, David. So before we talk about the specifics of how Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home have raised money through crypto, we thought it would actually just be a nice idea to share a little bit about, the income streams that are available within crypto philanthropy. So I think when we think of crypto, we think of it potentially just being one area of digital fundraising that could generate income, but actually within the crypto philanthropy sphere, we think that there's lots of different opportunities. So within that, individual giving, simply people who have bought crypto or invested in crypto who aren't necessarily part of an NFT project or investing in obscure or new or exciting coins, but maybe people who just put a little bit of money into Bitcoin and a little bit of money into Ethereum every month. There's a real opportunity to find these individuals and have them become donors. These might be like your traditional individual giving, low value, high number donors, but they also might be major donors as well. There's people who have made a lot of money from cryptocurrency, particularly those who were very early adopters. People who adopt crypto now are still seen as quite early adopters, but crypto came into force in kind of 2009, 10, 11. Just to put that into context, so in 2011, one Bitcoin was worth $1. So if you invested in Bitcoin back then, you've kept a hold of that, you would be extremely rich now, because one Bitcoin in 2021 was worth $60,000. Just now there's a bit of a dip within the cryptocurrency market, and right now it's worth about $40,000. But if you can imagine you'd invested a few dollars into crypto in 2011, you would be very well off in terms of digital currency now. So there's an opportunity there to find who are those early adopters of Bitcoin particularly, but other cryptos as well, and how can you fundraise from them? Do they have an affinity with your cause that you might be able to speak to them about supporting you? There's community fundraising, what we call the community fundraising of crypto, and that's really where we've had our success so far at Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home. And these are the projects like NFTs, but also projects who are creating their own cryptocurrencies. They tend to be small groups of people, but with large communities around them that have invested in their project or their coin. and that's where we have seen the most success so far. So we'll talk a little bit more about those examples later on. Gaming, there is a huge crossover between the gaming world and the crypto world, and we're starting to see more gaming platforms pop up where it's play to earn crypto, but also play to donate crypto. So we're quite interested in looking at the future of gaming and crypto. Corporate fundraising, although it's early days and most companies in the world probably don't have crypto assets, there are some. For example, Tesla own over $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. So companies who are maybe very techy, very forward thinking, who are investing in crypto, there's potential opportunities there in the future for corporate fundraising as well. And lastly, legacy. Obviously, there's people who are investing in crypto now, and much like stocks and shares and fiat, what happens to those assets when that person dies? I think there's potential in the future to look at, is there potential for legacy fundraising through people who have crypto assets? So these crypto communities, which today, because we're obviously talking very specifically about how we fundraise from crypto communities via Twitter, but also social media. So I wanted to talk a little bit about where do we find these people and how do we engage with them. Now, this is just our experience at Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home. Others may have found this different, but there's 4 main platforms for us and each are slightly different from the other. So Twitter for us is where we've really started the journey with the crypto projects that we work with. That's where we've tended to do a lot of our research into finding these communities, finding what they're talking about. A lot of them use Twitter Spaces, so being able to go and listen to live conversations around the project, and also just publicly engage, and also kind of sending direct messages to these projects and being able to engage with them. So for us, the Twitter is really where these communities are in bulk, and you really can spend a long time going down a Twitter wormhole, finding lots of projects who want to support charities. And then from there, we've got Reddit, we've got Discord, and we've got Telegram. These channels we have found for us haven't been the places where we've went to find the communities, but when we've already got established a bit of a rapport with a community or we're working with them in a partnership capacity, then we will start to engage with their communities directly through these 3 channels, particularly Discord and Telegram. And it's a little bit different from engaging on Twitter. Obviously, when you're engaging on Twitter, it's quite public, whereas when you're engaging on Discord and Telegram, you are more directly engaging with that community. So if you are looking at engaging with crypto communities, we would definitely recommend you to be on across all of these channels, but particularly Twitter in the first instance. I'll give you a couple of case studies of real life examples of donations that and partnerships that we have had that have come directly through those Twitter engagements. The first one is Potherium. Potherium are a cryptocurrency project. They are building their own cryptocurrency, their own coin. And I'll tell you a little bit about how the partnership came about. We have an ongoing partnership with them that was developed in November. So it all started with a Twitter engagement. As mentioned in the previous slide, we had been doing a lot of research into crypto communities, specifically crypto projects that had either an affinity with dogs or cats, being an animal welfare charity. And Potherium was one of the projects that we found and we followed. And one evening, while scrolling through Twitter, the Potherium project leads put on a Twitter Spaces. So I jumped in to listen to what they were talking about. It was I didn't make the start of it. So at the point that I jumped in, the first words I heard were, "We would like to give a percentage of all our profits to animal welfare charities, but we're really struggling to find any animal welfare charities that will even speak to us, never mind charities that actually accept crypto." So as you can imagine, at that stage, we had been accepting cryptocurrency for probably about a month to 6 weeks. And so my ears pricked up. So that got me private messaging all the project leads and saying, look, we accept cryptocurrency and we would really love to talk to you about working with you. Now, just to put that in context, these project leads were based across the world, actually. So the founder, Nawa, based in Finland, but at that point, a lot of the project leads were based in Germany, in the US and Germany as well. So nobody in the UK. So when we started talking to them, we had to work around things like time zones when trying to organise a meeting. So the first thing we did after that Twitter engagement was have a Zoom meeting with them so that we could put faces and names behind the project, because often you'll see with crypto communities on Twitter, a lot of people don't use their real name. They'll not use their own photograph. They'll maybe use an NFT that they've got or a cartoon or something like that, and they tend to not use their own name. So for us, when building a partnership, we really wanted to get to know the people behind the project and the motivations for running that project. So we did that. We had that meeting with them, and from there, they asked us, or we offered to them, to be honest, that we would put a funding proposal in. Now, keeping in mind that these people who run these projects haven't actually engaged with charities very much. So actually, it was a lot of us guiding them as to how that they could support. So we offered to put a funding proposal into them because they were really keen to make a donation to us. So we put that funding proposal in, and these three parts happened within about 4 days. The Twitter engagement, the Zoom meeting, the funding proposal. And then within another few days, they confirmed that they wanted to fund the project that we put forward to them. So the donation was made. It was 26 Ethereum. So at that point in time, that was worth approximately $118,000, which was around £87,000. And we believe it was the largest known crypto donation in Scotland from all the research that we've done. Now, that donation has been allocated to fund our pet food bank for the whole of 2022, so it's actually funded a whole service. But the lovely thing that Potherium did was, as part of the PR, we agreed that we would obviously thank them very publicly, much like you would with a corporate partner or a community group that you've been working with. We agreed that we would make a bit of a song and dance about the fact they made this donation. And actually, you'll see in the picture here, there's myself and Ant, who's one of the community members from Potherium. So although he wasn't in the core project team, he's one of their community members. They put a call out to their community and said, does anyone live in the UK who might want to go and visit Edinburgh Dog and Cat Home on the day we make the donation? And Ant said, yeah, I'm close by, I'll go. Ant's from Wales, and he made his way all the way to Scotland for the donation day. So there he is when he got a tour of our site and a bit of lunch on the day, and brought up lots of goodies, hoodies and cups and all the rest of it. So then after that, it was really about keeping the community engaged. We agreed with Potherium from the start that we wanted to be long-term partners with them and that they wanted to make future donations. So it was really important to them, but also for us, that we continued that engagement with our community. So because of the project they funded, it was obviously our outreach services, our food bank. Our outreach manager has been very active on Twitter to keep them up to date about what he's doing and where their donation has went. And from that, they then we were able to provide another funding proposal, which they agreed to. And basically, they agreed to fund the first 6 months' salary of a specific crypto digital role, which is David. So that was really exciting for us because, as you will all know, fundraising for salaries is difficult. Fundraising for a fundraiser salary is a different kettle of fish altogether, but they really understood why it was important, because we'd only scratched the surface with crypto philanthropy, and they knew the potential that was there and they wanted to help us get there. So they pledged to make a donation to fund the first 6 months, and as of today they've made the first 2 instalments of that donation, which has been absolutely incredible. The other case study that I want to provide, oh I'm not moving, there we go. The other case study is specifically an NFT. So this NFT project is called Shiba Shelter. They are themed around Shiba Inu dogs, and they also came from a Twitter engagement, and on this occasion they actually approached us. So they'd seen some of the other projects that we've been working with Potherium and some others. They saw that we were accepting cryptocurrency, and they saw that we were on the giving block as a charity, and they sent us a message on Twitter saying, we would like to make a donation to you. So we got to know the team and what their motivations were, what their roadmap was, and what they wanted to do. The lovely couple from Canada, along with an artist who was doing obviously a lot of the artworks, and they had a Shiba Inu rescue dog of their own, and they wanted to make a difference to animal charities across the UK. So we had that Twitter engagement. We got to know them. The project made a donation, as in the project leads decided to make a donation. And from there, we were able to really engage with their community after that donation by making short videos of our dogs up at the home, our staff saying thank you, and just really keeping them engaged, much like you would any other supporter, providing really good stewardship. From there, they asked us if we would join their Telegram channel and their Discord channel, which we did. And that just allowed us to then have that further engagement directly with their community. That proved really a good move for us when then it came to further donations, because the way that this NFT project works is that they put out community votes for donations. So they shortlist 10 animal charities and the community vote on the top 3 to receive the largest donations. We've been part of that twice now, and both times we've come out on the top 3 because of the level of engagement we give their donors. It's not about where we're based, because a lot of their community are in the States. It's about the level of engagement they get from us, and we've seen those direct comments on Discord of these guys, Edinburgh Dog Cat Home, really love us, so let's support them. And it's just about showing them that love. And from there, it's just been the ongoing social engagement. What are other charities doing in the crypto NFT space? I thought it would be really good to show you just a short video from the WWF, who launched their own NFT project at the end of last year. So this was obviously a very bold and forward-thinking move from the WWF to actually create that NFT project of their own. Edinburgh Dog Cat Home's experience is that we've been beneficiaries of NFT projects, but for some charities like WWF, they've decided to take that step to run their own. Now, I'm saying brave because it was met with a lot of criticism as well as support. So they did manage to raise at this stage over $260,000 US dollars, which is obviously an incredible amount of money. But with that came a lot of criticism, particularly in the sustainability point of view. Now, WWF did a lot of work in the background to ensure that they were using the greenest form of cryptocurrency that they could. They use Polygon, which you can read more about, or we can talk more about later. But there was still a lot of criticism from the community, particularly with WWF being an environmental charity. So I think it just it's good to highlight there is pros and cons, and you do need to make sure you get that right for your charity. Now, I know that there's at least one person in the room that has a WWF NFT, and that's Nick. So he'll maybe talk about that later on. So quickly, just to there we go. So I want to just quickly run through what did we learn from our experiences so far. Now, we are only about 8 months into our crypto journey, so we are still very much learning every day. But just to quickly run through some of those key learnings for us. Relationships are key. There are real life people behind these projects, these cryptocurrency projects, and behind individual cryptocurrency donations. They are normal people like you and I, who, if they're supporting your charity, just want to support. And it's much like every other area of fundraising, every other income stream, stewardship and relationships are key. That's how you're going to raise money through these projects. So yes, you want to understand things, but it really comes down to, if you want to raise money from these projects, you need to be able to build strong relationships with these supporters and these donors. What we learned is that we really need to understand the project goals. So I talked about project roadmaps for these kind of NFT projects and crypto token projects. They have what they call a project roadmap, and that is publicly available. They usually have a website, so go and check that out if you're thinking about working with a specific project, and understand what their motivations are and what they're trying to do. Every project is different. Engage with the community. So as we've talked about, use Twitter, use Discord, use Reddit and Telegram, but just really immerse yourself in that community and do it in a really genuine way. Let people know your name, who you are, and nothing needs to be fancy. If you're doing a little thank you video, it doesn't need to be well edited. It can just be done on your phone with a little dog or a little cat or whatever your cause is, and just show them that you're genuinely thankful. Learn the lingo. So one thing that I learned quickly when we started accepting crypto is that there's definitely people in the community have their own language, and if you can just learn some of those little phrases that they use, it helps you just immerse yourself in the community. So just an example of that is that you'll see most people in the morning when they tweet and they're part of the crypto community, they say GM, which just stands for good morning, but it just seems very specific to the crypto world. So just those little things that you can integrate into your own tweets and messages on these other channels really help you to immerse yourself. Look out for the red flags. They're like in every area of society in the world. There's going to be your bad eggs. Look out for what they're asking you for, what they're expecting of you. Manage expectations. If a project is asking you to promote their coin or their NFTs, maybe be a bit wary of that. But really working with a platform like the Giving Block, they can really advise you. We've been to them with lots of different projects to ask, what's your advice on this? Should we be working with them? Is there anything that you would flag? So you don't need to be the expert. You can, as long as you have access to the experts, and that's why the value for us of working on a platform like the Giving Block was second to none. You don't need to be a digital expert. You should try and understand the basics, obviously. It's more about understanding the risks though, probably rather than the actual technology behind it. And lastly, if you want to get started in crypto, just some tips from us. And David, please feel free to chip in here. I'll maybe just go through them and you can add in anything that I've missed. But decide on your method of accepting crypto, wallet or platform. What I mean by that is that you can easily just go and set up a crypto wallet for whatever specific coin or coins and just start accepting crypto. But there are some, especially if you don't have the knowledge behind it, there are some risks with that, particularly around security and fraud. So for us, we opted to use a platform. Now, as I said, we use the Giving Block. They're definitely not the only platform. However, with them, the difference is that they are charity specific. So a lot of the other platforms you can be used for individuals, businesses, charities, whereas the Giving Block are experts in crypto philanthropy. So it's only charities that can sign up to them to accept crypto. So they're a good choice. Do your research. I mean, for me, it was speaking to people in the crypto world, watching YouTube videos. There's a lot of information out there and it can get a little bit overwhelming. So try and look for good sources of information and don't necessarily believe everything you read. Review your internal policies and procedures. Make sure that if you are going to accept crypto that everything's up to date. So that could be your gift acceptance, refusal and return policy, around anonymous donations, or around donations where you might suspect that it's not coming from a particularly good place. Make sure that your internal policies are up to date with all of that. Understand the pros, cons and the risks. So obviously David talked about those. Get to understand them in a bit more detail, and then update your position statements. Make sure that your organisation aligns with that. So obviously we used the WWF as an example. There are risks environmentally, and if you're an environmental charity, you might need to consider that even more in depth than another charity might. So really understand that and consider whether crypto is right for your organisation. And if all of those things are done, just don't be scared, dive right in. I'm lucky to have David in my team now, but I didn't have when we first started. And as I said, I'm not a digital expert, I'm not a crypto expert, but I've still managed to generate of almost £160,000 since we launched at the end of August along with my team. So don't be scared of it. Just dive in and speak to the right people and they will help you. So David, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add into that.
I think
if not, we can, sorry, carry on.
I think absolutely dive in. You know, that's the key to it. It's just breaking that psychological barrier of being someone who has no affiliation or understanding of it to being somebody who's used it or traded it. So there's plenty of apps out there available now that let you buy it just as easy as buying something from Amazon or any shopping site. So I'd get in there and I'd buy some Bitcoin or some Ethereum and just and see where it takes you.
Brilliant. And that is it from us. So just want to say thank you very much for listening to us. That was very much a whistle-stop tour. I think David and I could both sit and talk about cryptocurrency all day long because it's such an interesting topic. But if you do have any questions, please just feel free to drop us an email or follow us on Twitter. You'll see our Twitter handles there as well. And we'll try and help you where we can. And if we can't help you, we'll definitely signpost you to the people that can. So huge thank you for having us along today.